The late 900s was a really important time for Islamic science and philosophy. We call it the Golden Age of Islam. Scholars from all over the Islamic world, using Arabic to talk to each other, started a huge project of translating and studying old books. Their work changed how people thought, connecting ancient civilizations and setting the stage for hundreds of years of progress. Libraries from Baghdad to Cordoba became busy centers of learning, attracting smart people who wanted to learn from ancient writings. This time period saw the rise of amazing thinkers like Al-Kindi, Al-Farabi, and Avicenna. Avicenna, born in what is now Uzbekistan in the year 980, was a super smart guy who knew a lot about many different things. He left a lasting impact on medicine, philosophy, math, and astronomy. He wrote over 450 books, showing he really understood ancient Greek thinkers, especially Aristotle. Avicenna was great at taking difficult ideas and making them easier to understand. His most famous book, the Canon of Medicine, was used by doctors for centuries. Avicenna also made big advancements in logic, creating a way of thinking that changed how people discussed philosophy. His work shows us how powerful curiosity and careful study can be. A key part of Islamic science and philosophy was the translation movement. This involved scholars from many different places who translated old texts into Arabic. These translators were very smart and knew many languages. They worked hard to understand complicated ideas. The translation movement wasn't just about Greek texts. It included works from Persia, India, Syriac, and other ancient cultures. Arabic became the common language for scholars, allowing them to share ideas across different countries. Translating was hard because ancient languages were tricky. Translating special words required cleverness and a good understanding of both the original language and Arabic. They had to make up new words, change old words, and even adjust how sentences were put together. This work with language was a very difficult intellectual task. Even though the translators tried their best, some things got lost or changed in translation. Early translations were very word for word and not always easy to understand. Arabic didn't have specific words for science yet, which made some parts confusing. This showed how important good translations are for sharing ideas. Translating was just the first step. Scholars studied these texts, thought about them carefully, and added their own ideas, changing how people thought. Yaqub ibn Ishaq al-Kindi, called the philosopher of the Arabs, was another very smart guy who knew a lot about many things. His writings mixed Greek philosophy and Islamic ideas, creating a new kind of Islamic philosophy. After Al-Kindi, Abu Nasr al-Farabi became a very important philosopher. Al-Farabi's work on logic, metaphysics, and political philosophy made him a star of his time. He carefully studied and explained Aristotle's work, making it easier to understand. Al-Farabi created his own philosophical ideas, exploring reality, the soul, and the perfect government. Early scholars had to figure out how to connect Greek ideas with Islam. Al-Kindi said that philosophy and religion both helped us find truth. He believed God gave us reason to understand the world and God's plan. Al-Farabi tried to connect Aristotle's philosophy with Islamic teachings, saying the universe follows logical rules. Combining these ideas wasn't easy. Early translations were sometimes confusing. Scholars worked hard to understand Greek thought and make it fit with Islam. This hard work led to discussions, helping scholars understand things better. By the late 900s, the Islamic world had lots of translations of Old Greek and Alexandrian writings. These texts offered deep insights into how the universe and humans work. But for scholars, all this information was sometimes too much. Early translations weren't always clear enough to explain the details of Greek thought. There were often many translations of the same text, each with good and bad points. Aristotle's works had many Arabic versions, each trying to understand his difficult language. Having so many translations caused confusion. Scholars had to compare them to figure out what Aristotle really meant. Even Avicenna had trouble with incomplete translations. He famously struggled to understand Aristotle's Metaphysics. He finally understood it after reading Al-Farabi's explanation. This showed how important it was to have books that explained old ideas clearly. This need for clarity inspired Avicenna's important work in philosophy and medicine. He knew the real value of translations was to build on old ideas. Avicenna's clear writing, strong logic, and vast knowledge shaped the Golden Age of Islam. With so many translated texts, Avicenna helped make things clearer and more organized. He worked to combine and organize all that knowledge. Avicenna's important books, like the Book of Healing and the Canon of Medicine, show how smart he was. These books gave a complete picture of knowledge, helping students learn about different subjects. Avicenna believed logic was the key to learning and proving knowledge. He saw logic as a tool to improve arguments and avoid mistakes. Avicenna explained Aristotle's logic clearly. He explored different ways of thinking, how good arguments are made, and common mistakes in thinking. His work on logic gave people a strong way to look at evidence and make good arguments. Avicenna's philosophy covered many topics, not just logic. He divided knowledge into natural sciences, math, and metaphysics. In natural sciences, he studied physics, astronomy, and biology. He learned from old books, but also added his own ideas. Avicenna used both observation and reason. He believed real understanding came from careful observation and thinking. Metaphysics was the highest level of Avicenna's thinking. He explored what is real and if God exists. He tried to connect the idea of a universe with natural laws and a God who is beyond our world. Avicenna's work on these questions greatly influenced Islamic philosophy. Avicenna changed medicine. His famous book, the Canon of Medicine, was the most important medical book for hundreds of years. This book combined hundreds of years of medical knowledge with his own observations. The Canon of Medicine covered everything from anatomy to treating illnesses. Avicenna believed in treating the whole person, body, mind, and spirit. Avicenna's Canon introduced new ideas that changed medicine, laying the foundation for modern medical practices. He described the human body in detail, based on his own work and the work of others, improving understanding of how the body works. His anatomical descriptions were groundbreaking for their time. He carefully categorized diseases, describing their symptoms, causes, and treatments, using his experience and Islamic knowledge of medicine. This systematic approach was revolutionary. His descriptions of meningitis, pleurisy, and smallpox were very accurate, showing his great observation skills. These detailed accounts helped future generations of doctors. Avicenna also made important contributions to pharmacology, the study of drugs and their effects. He knew it was important to use pure medicines in the right amounts, emphasizing precision in dosage. He encouraged careful experiments to see if medicines worked and if they had side effects. This empirical approach was ahead of its time. His canon included a huge list of medicinal substances, describing their properties, how to prepare them, and how to use them. This was an invaluable resource for practitioners. This comprehensive work, showcasing the Islamic world's knowledge of plants and medicine, introduced many new drugs and treatments to the West, influencing medicine for centuries. Avicenna's legacy continues to inspire medical professionals today. Besides medicine, Avicenna also greatly influenced logic and metaphysics. His careful study of Aristotle's logic, especially the Organon, made him one of the most important logicians of the Golden Age. Avicenna's explanations of Aristotle's logic, part of his bigger philosophical works, made complex ideas clearer and presented a systematic way of thinking and arguing. He stressed the importance of logic for learning and proving knowledge, saying good reasoning helps us tell truth from lies and reach good conclusions. Avicenna did more than just explain Aristotle. He developed his own system of logic, improving Aristotle's ideas. His work in logic continued to be studied for centuries in both the East and the West. In metaphysics, Avicenna tackled big questions about reality, God, the connection between the physical and spiritual, and if we can know things beyond what we can see and touch. His metaphysical system, influenced by Aristotle and Islam, tried to connect the idea of a universe with natural laws and a God who created everything. Avicenna's work led to new ideas, like his distinction between essence and existence, which influenced later philosophers. He said that God's essence is the same as his existence, but for everything else, essence and existence are different. This idea was very important to Avicenna's metaphysics and changed how people thought about creation, the relationship between God and the world, and if humans can understand God. Avicenna's legacy shows us the power of curiosity, learning about different things, and how one person can change history. His contributions span across various fields, demonstrating the interconnectedness of knowledge and the importance of a holistic approach to learning. He was a true polymath, mastering medicine, philosophy, logic, and science. His ability to integrate and synthesize information from diverse disciplines set him apart as a unique figure in history. He could take lots of information from both East and West and make it easy to understand. This cross-cultural exchange of ideas enriched his work and broadened the scope of his influence. This made him one of the greatest thinkers of the Golden Age of Islam. His intellectual legacy continues to inspire scholars and thinkers around the world. His work in medicine, especially the Canon of medicine, changed medical practice for centuries. This monumental text served as a cornerstone for medical education and practice in both the Islamic world and Europe. This book showed his careful scholarship and observation skills, connecting old medical traditions with new practices and influencing medical education and treatment far beyond his own time and place. His meticulous approach set a standard for future generations of physicians. His detailed descriptions of anatomy, classifications of diseases, and focus on treating the whole person, including mind and body, are still relevant today. Avicenna's holistic approach to medicine emphasized the importance of understanding the patient as a whole, a principle that remains a cornerstone of modern medical practice. Avicenna's philosophical works, especially his explanations of Aristotle, were groundbreaking in their depth and clarity. His own writings on logic, science, and metaphysics made him a towering figure in Islamic philosophy, influencing countless scholars. Avicenna skillfully connected Greek philosophy with Islamic theology, creating a unique and enduring form of Islamic philosophy that bridged cultures. His emphasis on logic as the foundation of knowledge was revolutionary, and his exploration of the concepts of essence and existence provided a new framework for understanding reality. His attempts to connect the natural world with the divine were profound, influencing many philosophers in both the East and the West. Avicenna's works, translated into Latin and other European languages, became essential reading for European thinkers during the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, influencing notable figures like Albertus Magnus, Thomas Aquinas, and Roger Bacon, who built upon his ideas. Avicenna's mention in Dante's Divine Comedy, alongside Greek philosophers, highlights his lasting impact and significance in Western thought. His influence extended beyond specific subjects, acting as a bridge that connected different cultures and intellectual traditions. Avicenna's work demonstrates how human curiosity and the quest for knowledge are universal, transcending boundaries and eras. He reminds us that ideas can transcend time and place, fostering communication and understanding between diverse cultures. Avicenna's legacy continues to inspire people to seek a deeper understanding of the world and ourselves, bridging gaps between different intellectual traditions.